Okay, today we're going to talk about an ethical dilemma called the trolley problem. But to get us going, to get us sort of thinking about these things, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. So first of all, how do you know when the thing that you're doing is the right thing? So what is the experience that you have when you know that the thing that you're doing is the right thing to do? And similarly, how do you know when the thing that you've just done is the wrong thing? So how is it that you know when you've done something wrong? These are the questions I'm going to talk about in our introduction. All right, so we're going to discuss an ethical dilemma called the trolley problem. Then we're going to consider a variation on the problem, and I'm going to end by asking a series of questions that help draw out the problem in the trolley problem. All right, so this is the trolley driver version of the trolley problem. Okay, so you have a trolley, which is just a train, and it's going down a straight track. And the driver's looking out the window in front of him, and he sees that there's 5 people tied up on the track. He goes to jam on the brakes, and he can't stop. So he doesn't know what he's going to do. If he doesn't do anything, the train is just going to go straight through the 5 people and kill all of them. Then, at the last minute, he sees a track going off to the side. This is great. He can avoid the 5 people. But then he notices that a single person is tied up on that track. Okay? So the question is, what should the trolley driver do? So what should he do? He can either go straight and kill 5 people, or turn the train and kill only 1 person. All right. Now, just because it exists in our popular culture, I wanted to mention that there's also a trolley problem meme that maybe many of you have seen, and the various elements get switched around. Now, something about this meme is this is actually another version of this problem, which is the bystander at the switch. So don't let this meme distract you. In our version of the trolley problem, it is just the trolley driver. There is not the person standing at the switch. But in any case, I wanted to bring this up in case you've seen it to sort of connect it to your lives. In any case, some rules with these types of thought experiments. So this is a philosophical thought experiment, right? And a thought experiment is an imagined situation that's used to test our intuitions. So an important part of thought experiments is that some variables are stipulated and can't be avoided or changed. Okay, now this is pretty important. And in the case of the trolley problem, the driver only has 2 choices available, right? To turn the trolley or not. And we don't know anything about any of the people on the tracks. Now, a lot of times students want to say, like, oh, well, can he crash the train? Or like, if it only hits the first person, is that going to slow it down enough? We can't change those things because it's not a part of the thought experiment. We're using the experiment to test our intuitions. So we have to keep it stable. Now, notice, however, that you can test different intuitions by changing these variables. And there's going to be an assignment this week that encourages us to think about that. All right. So, back to the trolley driver. We'll remember, train going down the track. If it goes straight, it's going to kill 5 people, and the driver can turn it, and if he does, it only kills 1. So some questions. What choice do you make in this situation? If you're the trolley driver, what do you do? Do you do nothing and let the trolley hit the 5 people? Or do you turn the trolley and kill just 1 person? And why do you do this? What is your justification for the choice that you make? Now, another question is, are you morally required to make this choice, or is it simply morally permissible for you to make it? So what it means for a choice to be morally required is that if you don't make the choice, you're doing something wrong, whereas what it means for something to be morally permissible means that you can do it or not, right? It's kind of up to each person. So in this case, is the trolley driver morally required to make the choice that you have come up with? Or is it only morally permissible for the driver to make the choice? Okay, let you think about that for a second or two. All right. Now, the regular responses to the trolley problem, this version of it, are that most people decide that they should turn the trolley and kill the one person rather than the five, because it'd be better to kill one person rather than to kill five. And this is what we would call a decision based on utility. It is better to kill one than five, so the morally right thing to do is to turn the train and kill one rather than to kill five. Now, some people worry that you shouldn't turn the trolley because to do this is to actually make a choice to kill the one person, right? Whereas if you leave the trolley going straight, you're doing something that's like just letting fate kill the five, right? So if you turn the train, it's a choice you made and you are killing the one. Whereas if you let the train with its brakes just go straight through the five people, that isn't a choice you made, that was a choice that fate made. Now, most people think that either choice, quite frankly, is morally permissible and that neither choice is morally required. Okay, now let's look at another variation of the trolley problem. This is called the great surgeon variation. All right, so here we have our great surgeon, and she has 5 patients, and each of her 5 patients has a different organ failure. So they look healthy in the pictures, but they actually are all suffering from different organ failures, and if they don't get their organs replaced, they are going to die. All right. Then, as luck would have it, this fella wanders into her office, and she's doing some tests on him, just in the normal range of their appointment, and she discovers that he's a perfect match for her 5 people that need organ transplants. And so once she discovers this, she asks him, hey, you perfectly match my 5 patients that are all going to die without an organ transplant. Are you willing to sacrifice yourself to save the 5? He, of course, like I think many of us would, says, no, I'm not going to sacrifice myself to save 5 people. As great as that sounds, I really value my life and I don't want to do that. So she listens to him. And then she kind of sneaks behind him and closes the door and knocks him out and harvests his organs. No, she doesn't do that. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is, should she do that? Should she knock this fella out and harvest his organs in order to save the 5 people? Now, what choice do you make in this situation if you're the surgeon? Do you let the 5 people die? Or do you take this person against his will and harvest his organs in order to save the 5 people? Do you kill the man in order to save the other 5 or not? And why do you make this choice? What is it that's motivating you? And in this case, are you morally required to make the choice? Or is it simply morally permissible for you to make it? Okay, give you a little bit to think about that. All right. So the regular responses to this version of the case. So in the surgeon example, almost everyone thinks that it would be horrifically wrong for the surgeon to kill the person to harvest his organs. And as the instructor, when I'm doing this live, it's a lot of fun to sort of needle at students and ask them why. You know, what's so wrong about the surgeon sacrificing this person to save 5 people? And people look at me like I'm a maniac. All right. And in addition, almost everyone thinks that you're morally required to not kill the person to harvest his organs to save the 5, right? So we'll remember in the previous case, I say that almost everyone says that it's morally permissible, meaning that the trolley driver can make either choice, and we would certainly understand morally. However, in the case of the surgeon, everybody thinks that the surgeon is morally required to not kill the person in order to harvest his organs to save the 5. However, sometimes one person will notice that in the case of the trolley driver, it was important to save the 5, so this must mean that the surgeon should kill the person and harvest his organs also in order to save the 5. This doesn't always come up, but sometimes it does. And this leads us into the problem of the trolley problem. So why is it that in the trolley driver case, it seems okay for the driver to turn his trolley, while in the case of the surgeon, it doesn't seem okay for her to remove the young man's organs? In both cases, one person will die if the agent acts, but 5 people will live who would otherwise die. So the question that I'm going to leave you with, and that we're going to consider this week, is what explains the moral difference between these two cases? Thanks a lot.